there's something that can throw a wrench in your business, your ministry, in your relationships, just a wrench in your day. And it doesn't have to happen. It does not have to blindside you. It doesn't have to take you off track. Actually, there's something you can do about this. This is something you probably think you know all about, but I am going to explain it in a different way today and give you steps to combat it. My name is Connie from Contagious Life and Purpose, and this is Tuesday Truths with Connie. So what is it that I want to give you some freedom in today? It's stress. And again, you might think, oh, I know all about stress. I've been dealing with stress for so many years. That's the thing. You've been dealing with it, and you may not understand that it's robbing from you. It's stealing things from you because you're so used to operating at a certain level that you don't know what it's like when your stress is lower. So first of all, where do you think stress begins? Where does it come from? It comes in our minds, right? It's in our thoughts. Now, there's a lot of different types of stressors, and what stresses one person out doesn't necessarily stress the next person out. It's very individual. But what we think about is often what causes us stress. You know, if someone does something that offends you and you play it over and over and over again in your mind, even as you're doing that, you probably can feel the stress, right? Or if it's an event and you play that over and over in your mind, you're going to feel that stress in your body somewhere. You know, there's some things that are, events that happen that are definitely very real, very stressful. You may have lost your job. Someone may have just so many responsibilities weighing on them. It's going to cause stress. But again, how you think about the fact that you lost your job, how you think about all those responsibilities is going to determine the level of stress you experience. So have you ever noticed that there could be two people that are going through the same exact stress? They're dealing with the same thing. And yet one of them is just, they're so under it. It's like they're barely surviving, barely keeping their head above water. And the other one seems to be going along, pretty well. And you think they're under the same amount of stress. How can this be? I'll tell you, it is their perception. Their perception of the stress is what is dictating their experience. And so what do? We need to change our perception of the stressor. Now, this is possible. It's possible. Have you ever been at a sporting event? Have you ever been at a sporting event, and it could be a professional game or even just a high school game? And see, let's just pretend we're at a high school basketball game, and you're sitting in the stands between one set of parents for this team and a set of parents for this team. And if that was the case, this could very well be the scene. At one point, they're all watching the same game, but at one point, one parent's yelling, "Oh my gosh, ref, that's a hack, they're hacking him on the arm." And the other parent's like, "He didn't touch him. What are you talking about? He didn't even touch him." Now they're watching, I'm just gonna remind you, they're watching the exact same game. There's only one game. There's only one thing playing out in front of their eyes, but they are perceiving it so differently. How can that be? Well, you cannot help it as a parent. You just want your child to be successful. You want your children's team to be victorious if at all possible. And literally, you're watching this with your heart instead of your actual eyes, because there's only one scene and people are sincerely seeing it differently. Their perception is so different, right? And think about how this happens in relationships, right? People are just perceiving, they're just coming from the same thing from a different perspective. One person might think this is funny, and another person might feel really hurt by something. Well, what's the difference? Their perception of this is so very different. And so this is just something that can definitely help stress in your relationships, not just with your spouse, but with your friend, in your family, at work. Just stopping and realizing, let me try to look at this from their perspective. Let me put myself in their shoes for a moment, right? If you do this with a spouse, for instance, it's going to be a lot easier to not get so offended. It's going to be a lot easier to not be annoyed. And it's going to be a lot easier to forgive sooner, because the truth is we all do things that can be offensive. We all do things that can be annoying if we're honest, right? But really looking at it from the other person's perspective, we might realize that, oh, they're doing this because this is how it was always done in their family. And they don't even know the difference. They don't know that it's kind of offensive, right? So just really something special to do. And here's some steps. I want you just to go through these steps. Number one is become aware of your thoughts. Become aware of your thoughts. Now, we have between 25 and 75,000 thoughts per day. So you're not going to be aware of all of those, but you want to start becoming aware of more of your thinking. And realize step two is identify the stress that these thoughts cause. Like I said before, sometimes when you're worrying about something, for instance, and where does that worry manifest? In your mind, right? And you will feel it in your body. If you are playing something over and over and over again in your mind, you're going to feel that somewhere. So become aware of your thoughts, and then become aware and identify the stress that they're causing. And the Bible has a great solution for this, and you all know it. It's in 2 Corinthians 10:5. You know this verse: casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Right? When you start becoming aware of those thoughts and you start realizing the stress it's causing, you can say, wait a minute, that's not my thought. I'm going to cast down that imagination. I'm going to take that thought captive. And you may have to do it over and over and over and over again during the day at first until you get used to this. So another step is along another line is just decide if there's a practical solution. Do that. If there's a practical solution, take that solution. For instance, maybe you're getting ready to go on vacation and you have decided you're going to leave Thursday night and get a jumping, and you're driving somewhere and you're going to get so far Thursday night, get a little, a few miles under the road, but if you're like me and you are a business owner, there is so much that needs to be done. There's so many people that I help. There's so many things that would have to be done before I can leave on vacation. And so I might find myself it's just so hard. And it's just so much easier to say, you know what? I'm going to actually leave Friday morning. So then I can have Thursday afternoon and I can tie up all these loose ends. I can get so many things that need to be done. And I can have all of Thursday night to pack. I'm going to be so much more peaceful leaving in the morning. That could just be a practical solution, right? So depending on it, just check, is there a practical solution? If not, move on. But the next step then is to definitely, like I said, choose to think different thoughts. So you've taken those thoughts, you've taken them captive, you've cast them down. Now you've got to replace them. Replace them with a Bible verse. Replace them with the memory of, you know what? God has come through for me before. If you would be in that position of losing a job, obviously that's going to be stressful. You're going to experience some stress, but your thoughts about that, if you choose to think over and over again, worst case scenario, or if you choose to think, you know what? I believe God is going to use this to bring me to an even better opportunity, something that I would have never sought out if this hadn't happened. I believe he's bringing me a better job than before. You have a choice in your thoughts, and it's going to determine the level of stress that you experience. And then just the fifth step is to, again, like I said, consider another person's perspective. Put yourself in their shoes, try to see things and from their perspective, from their perception. You don't have to agree with them to do this. You may not agree, but it can be easier to know where they're coming from, even if you don't agree with them. Now, for some of this choosing different thoughts, I realize it's not as easy as I make it sound. I understand that. For most of you, you probably need to rewire your brain. I mean, pretty much all of us do. There are things that have happened throughout your life that have wired in things. So you can choose different thoughts, and that will work for a while. And then you'll find yourself back to having the same amount of stress, back to repeating patterns, because your brain has to be rewired. It's not hard. It just is intentional, and you have to have someone show you how to do that. So reach out if you're interested in that. I have a client that she wasn't even halfway through one of my programs. She was rewiring her brain. For her, she was really concentrating on some social anxiety. And she told me, I thought this was so interesting. She said, Connie, not only am I way better at managing the anxious thoughts, she said, but I am more aware of all my thoughts. And for instance, if she's having an annoying thought about her husband, she said, I realized I can choose to be annoyed and keep thinking about how this is annoying, or I can choose to think of his good qualities and how many ways he helps me. And anyway, she described it as, I can see these thoughts, but they're in a net. They're up in a net. I can see them, but they can't get to me. Isn't that awesome? I can see those thoughts, but they can't get to me, because she could choose which thoughts she was going to concentrate on. I thought that was awesome. So I hope this has been helpful. Apply those steps. It will lower your stress. And it does not have to throw a wrench in your day. You can choose different thoughts. And if you need help with rewiring, just reach out. Blessings.